Hello there. Once again, this is Anton from Anton Will Obey, and today I'm going to be taking a look at one of my favorite old Marvel comics. I loved... there was three big titles that was really big to me from the 80s that when I started digging through quarter bins and starting to really hunt comics that really got my blood flowing. The first was Alpha Flight, of course. The second was Guardians of the Galaxy, the 90s series. The third was Cloak and Dagger. And I worked on hunting all of these down. And there's a lot of different variations of which issues and series and different times that was really difficult to track. Anyway, my special guest action figures are, of course, Cloak and Dagger. I have the newer Marvel Legends Cloak and Dagger, who are far and above the best Cloak and Dagger. I also have the Marvel Select Cloak and Dagger, who I feel like the cloak is better, but the dagger is not. And this, I feel the dagger is better and the cloak is not. So that's what I got. I have virtually every rendition of these action figures. I have the vintage Toy Biz that are really bad. I have Marvel Universe versions. Any version of these characters I get, I have. And I've tried to collect every single comic that was their title. I don't have all of them. And I don't have their first appearance. These guys first appeared in Spider-Man. And their first run of comics that they got was a 4-part miniseries. Cloak and Dagger 1, 2, 3, and 4. And that was it. And it was very shortly after that because I think they were really good. It was a good book. They were very dark, very moody. They had an old Daredevil feel to them. Very street, gritty, darkness. I really love these books. The next thing that they had happen was they had a larger series go on, this is the first issue. Second, I like that their plots were not very large. Basically, all they ever did was fight drug dealers. Very down-to-earth stuff, other than when they ran into the Beyonder. And all that really was just a minor Secret Wars tie-in. Nothing big. None of their plots were ever that big, and that's what I loved about them is they were really relatable. It's just two runaways that got experimented on and became super powered. This is a cop, Mayhem, that got turned by similar drugs. Oh yeah, I remember the shark issue. That was pretty nasty. Anyway, I loved this book. I can't say enough good about it. They hold their own even after all this time. They're really good books. That was a short series though. It only ran 11. So don't let that make you think it wasn't good. It was good. And if you see them, pick them up and read them. The art was a little on the weaker side. Kind of that wispy 90s art, but everything I've seen Cloak and Dagger is generally drawn that way, especially their origins, and you start to appreciate it after you read a few. Then they moved on to Strange Tales. Not officially a Cloak and Dagger book, but it was just called Strange Tales featuring Cloak and Dagger. This time it was Cloak and Dagger and Doctor Strange. It usually was, but I still consider these Cloak and Dagger books because that's always who was in them. And I don't think the stories often crossed over and it wasn't like Doctor Strange hanging out with them. It did happen a few times, but it was mostly it was a Cloak and Dagger story and then it was a Doctor Strange story. And I love books like that had Marvel Comics Presents. They were always doing that. But this was so geared right towards my two favorite characters. I absolutely loved it. The art is a little weird, wispy, kind of haunted, spooky looking stuff. I would say the art in this series is better than it was in the previous two, and it takes the same kind of ghoulish idea and just amps it up. I thought it was great. Still some of my most favorite comics I own, my most favorite comics that I reread. They're just great. And I always thought it was great how every issue started, with the little scripture that said, light, darkness and light, they're both one and one are the same. I am both fearfully and wonderfully made. Something like that. And I always love that. I thought that is so, that just really sets you up for a weird, dark, you know, lightness, darkness book. There they are with the power pack, who suck, but, you know, what are you going to do? Run into the Punisher. That's always fun times when you run into the Punisher. Like I said, very, very ghoulish artwork, which really fit the characters and really fit the stories and the whole ambiance of the book. They were very dark, very shadow heavy. Just great stuff. I absolutely love this book. Okay, and then we jump into, I didn't even notice, we jump into The Mutant Misadventures of Cloak and Dagger. This came way later. In fact, I'm going to switch it over here. Like, these other books were 88. This one is 88 as well, but it's much different. This is a much more Spider-Man-centric take on these. It's less dark. It's more superhero-y. They're still great. I don't think they're as great as the old ones. The Mutant Misadventures series didn't run that long either. For some reason, these guys never like really caught their stride as far as series go. But looks like I got doubles. You know, this is what everybody thinks of when they think of Cloak and Dagger. Currently, if they ever think of Cloak and Dagger. But really, when they think of Cloak and Dagger, you should be thinking of dark, creepy alleys and strange, like, shadowy paint and just a real gothic nightmare feel to them. And that was the version of Cloak and Dagger I always really loved. Anyway, that's all the issues I have. I really want to finish my run of of the Mutant Misadventures, but it's just not happened so far. These things usually want to bring pretty good money. They're all sinking. How is that? That's just great. Anyway, I haven't been able to finish that series yet, but I just absolutely adore the first couple series. The mini series, the Strange Tales. Fantastic. I can't recommend the book enough. That's my story. If you haven't heard of these, now you have. I will catch you guys later. Bye.